So I saw this on Facebook, and it really got me thinking to myself, should I make a video on it? Should I not? Because I was considering making a TikTok short video about it, but I was like, nah. In order for me to get my full perspective on celebrities with disabilities, I need to make a long video when I'm doing articles like this. So she's autistic. As someone that is on the spectrum myself, there are some things that I need to discuss about this. And there are a lot of things that I can relate to, because I spent years trying to, feel normal. But at the same time, I kind of had that weird feeling that I'm just different from everyone else. And ain't nothing wrong with it. So let's go ahead and dive into this article because, like I said, there are some things about this that make me relate to other celebrities that are on disabilities. So, yeah, let's just hop on to it. The WWE backstage interviewer Cathy Kelley revealed that she has been diagnosed with autism. Appearing on Insight with Chris Van Vliet, Kelley brought up her diagnosis when discussed what makes her on-camera character different from her own personality. I think it's just a different side of me, she said. I was recently diagnosed with autism, and I recognize that it changes a lot of the social dynamics that I have. So when I say introverted, I feel like it's a little bit more than a typical person to be. I'm kind of the same way too because I was diagnosed. I think around 4 or 5. I'm not sure, but I still have some things that scare me, that fear me. You know what I'm saying? That's just a person with disabilities in me. So introverted means that I'm on camera, a different person, my personality traits are different. I feel like a normal person. Okay, great. But off camera, there are a lot of things that people don't know about me personally. What I go through in my personal life is a bit of a struggle. And that's why I don't air out my personal business like that. Unless I'm telling a story about my life. But there are some things that I need to keep under wraps as far as like keep things personal. Like to myself, for example, right? If I'm doing a documentary about my personal life, if someone is willing to play me and order me about what I'm doing now in my personal life, then all of my personal issues will be brought up in the film or TV show, and it's going to make people look at me different or judge me different because of what I've done in my past. Because that's why you don't ever see me come on social media and express my personal business to the whole world, for the whole world to know and see, just so they can criticize and judge me, because I'm going to be the one that, that look like a monster. And yeah, I'm definitely with her on this one because I relate to it also. As a black man with disability, it sucks. Sometimes it sucks, sometimes it's a blessing. But I'm not sure if I want to call it that yet until I'm confident enough to embrace it, to embrace who I am. Let's move on. Kelley is in the midst of her second stint with WWE. She originally joined the promotion back in 2016 as a correspondent before making her NXT television debut in 2019. After a 2-year hiatus, Kelley returned to WWE in 2022 as a backstage interviewer. She has also moved back and forth between Raw and SmackDown over the years, though she is currently working on Friday Night SmackDown. In the lead up to WrestleMania, Kelley was involved in a physical angle when she was not to the ground during the altercation between Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan when they're talking about the rivalries between those two. And I'm gonna get my thoughts on Liv Morgan as a champion as a whole after this video. Well, after this. Despite the angle and recently spending time at the WWE Performance Center, Kelley said in the same interview with Van Vliet she wouldn't want to wrestle a match, but she would love to be a manager. And there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes when you're brought into the company, you don't always have to be a wrestler just because you're part of the WWE family now. You could be a producer, writer, an artist. As far as like being a backstage interviewer, you could sometimes be a manager. It depends on which role they put you in. You know what I'm saying? So I can respect that. Sometimes when I hear people talk about their disabilities on social media, I can either interact with them as far as like expressing my personal opinions on it, or I could just ignore it and just focus on my personal life and what I'm doing in my spare time. But the more I realize that more and more celebrities like her and everyone else has been diagnosed with autism or that are on a spectrum, like me, myself, I'm highly functioning. I'm still considered normal, but with disabilities, right? And sometimes it's hard for me to just embrace who I am because I feel like I want to be normal like everyone else. I want to be independent like everyone else. How to drive, how to catch a bus, how to do my own thing, have my own house. It's hard. I think most of us that are still living with our parents and stuff like that, we all have that dream of having a mansion, having a big house and a big yard, like a Bentley, a car, a truck, or whatever. We want to have those nice things in life. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we all have the big fears of our disabilities getting in the way of what we're trying to do in life. Like, for instance, if God gave you a talent, like if He gave you a talent of singing, rapping, acting, or whatever, or dancing, you can use those talents and show the world who you are. And just like when He gave me talents of drawing, you know, but you also have that skill to do something else. Like, for instance, if you want to do martial arts, if you want to be a fitness instructor, if you want to be whatever kind of performer you want to be, you just got to believe in yourself, what you can do, while you're on the spectrum. And I've seen most celebrities that are on disabilities that are on the spectrum became more successful as they got older, as they got bigger and famous, and they're the richest people in the world. And I know plenty of people with Down syndrome are way more famous, and some of them have normal kids of their own. And I remember one photo I've seen on Facebook of a dad with Down syndrome having a normal looking white baby. And his son is not even on the spectrum. That should tell you something, We don't always have to date somebody who is like you that are, that is on the spectrum, Anybody that is on disability can find love. But as long as you don't end up on that debacle, abominable dumb reality show called Love on the Spectrum, don't ever do it on that show, period. I'd rather find love, in a normal way, where I want to be with somebody who is normal. Not somebody that is on the spectrum like you, someone that is on disability. That becomes too much, a bit of a stretch. Because it's like living in the stereotype when you're autistic, you have to date somebody who is on the spectrum just like you. Or you have to date somebody your own age. You're 30, she's 30, you're 35, she's 35. It doesn't have to be like that. You could date somebody who is in their mid-20s who is normal. And if you want to be in a normal relationship, you can do that. A lot of us still have fears of rejection, fears of not finding love or doing things that makes us happy, Like Cathy, I feel like when she was diagnosed with autism, she still kept it going. She still became independent. She didn't really need to be in a group home or be in the program or whatever though, but if those who are in the program do what you gotta do to just get every situation done, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to Cathy Kelley. Her being autistic is not a bad thing. I actually think that autism is a superpower, just like any other disability. But I wouldn't want to call it a power or superpower or whatever. If somebody that's like schizophrenic or bipolar, that is not a superpower. That's a dangerous power, if you ask me. So yeah, what's your thoughts on this, man? Link to the article will be in the description.